Okay. Sorry, you were saying that.
Well, my name is Maria Gardner, and I'm one of Arnold's girls. I worked at Nassau Supreme, and Arnold was my supervisor. And when I started working there, Jerry was working there also. Arnold and Bill were part of the gods of court reporting. They were phenomenal reporters, and I don't think anybody could be as lucky as I was working with Arnold Cohen. He was absolutely wonderful. And I worked with Jerry for a while before he retired also. Jerry was, of course, one of the Cohen brothers, and he was quite content to be a good court reporter and a good friend of all of us. He didn't really want anything to do with the competition part of being a court reporter. He told us wonderful stories. He was absolutely a gentleman, wonderful. I loved him. He was the greatest.
I heard he had a big sense of humor, and he was a real socialite, which was surprising for me because when I was, I only saw him as a very old guy, like 75 plus, and to me at that time of his life, he just seemed quiet and reserved and thoughtful, and and from what I hear, it sounds like he was an opposite, like he was going out to lunch and having a lot of fun and making.
He always did that.
Yeah.
He was very quiet, but as soon as you sat down and spoke with him, like one-to-one, he had a lot of fun. A lot of funny stories. I loved it. I couldn't wait to hear his stories again. When we went out for lunch, if I was sitting next to him, he always had a new story to tell me. He was really great. I loved him. Great family. So happy birthday, Bill and Arnold, 90th birthday.
Great, thanks.
And Don will speak about what Bill has heard so many times, that all of you may have heard in part and maybe in whole, about his contributions to the profession and to our friendship, our mutual friendship. Okay? Woody cannot be here. In the beginning, Noah, Don, and Ed Varela, who came up with the idea to have this birthday event on behalf of brother Bill. And Woody is okay now, but he had to go to the emergency room last night. I came up and had dinner with me in Maryland and slept over, and we'll conduct the program. He had a fall, he's okay. Dizziness was okay, the MRI was negative for abnormality, and he's trying to come over here, but his wife and doctor won't let him. And so I agreed to convey his best wishes, and we'll read you some of the comments that he would have spoken to extemporaneously from the admin Bill. I'm going to, by the way, the plan is the entire bill will be split evenly amongst everyone. You'll pay me for reimbursement, and I'll pay the restaurant, and Woody and I have arranged everything and did a great job. I went through his file, he was so well prepared, and I'm going to give him a lot of credit. And now everyone's time will be limited to 5 minutes, which is very difficult, I know. It's quiet mostly during the daytime, and let it out during conventions and elsewise. So we're really all very privileged to be here. Bill said, Woody told me, I'd rather you celebrate my 100th. I said, yes, but we all may not be here. So Bill and that boss has witnessed charm and his lucidity. I'm going to call upon Don to get up and say a few words about Bill, and I'll sit down and we'll hear something from Ed. We'll go around the room, okay? And also, while you're at it, think about what you're going to order as the wait staff will come around. And we should be out of here by 3:30. Okay?
Thanks, Alan, and everybody. Welcome to New York if you're not from here originally. I'm the New York appointed speaker, at least for the moment. And Arnold is the person with whom I had shared an office with in the Supreme Court, Nassau County, and later shared an office with the twins' older brother, Jerry Collin. I was never permitted to share an office with Bill because Bill was too special for those things. But and so I'm quite close with the Collins, with the family, and have an enormous amount of respect for them from the standpoint that we all do as professionals, but also having had the opportunity to work elbow to elbow with each of them. A couple of things I thought that you might be interested in terms of their background. In case you didn't know it, Bill is a self-taught stenotypist. He didn't attend any formal school. Their dad was first an admitted attorney, but also became a teacher of shorthand. 4 brothers in the family. Ephraim, I'm given to understand, wrote phonography, Pittman shorthand, and gave it up after a while. But Jerry and the twins stayed with stenotype, converting to that after a while. You know, some of the things that Bill is known for, I don't have to really share with you. You know about their speed contest victories, and I'm sure that Bill will share with you the one dramatic 1952 contest when there was this unprecedented, either before or after, tie.
I was going to talk about that.
But that is something that should be spoken about by people other than I, and I'll leave that to Harold to share with you.
5 minutes, Harold.
There's so much, but you know, one of the things that I'm here to tell you is that Bill is not flawless. You know, what? No, I'm sorry. I told you, I know him from a different standpoint than most of you have had the opportunity to. He is not flawless. You know, his brother, for example, spent over 60 years in one civil service position, but not Bill. Bill, after 20 some odd years, left the Supreme Court. He retired. I don't understand how that word ever entered into his vocabulary, and went off to the big courthouse in Manhattan, the federal court. And he stayed there for another 24, 5, 6, 7 years. And then he retired. You just can't keep a job, this young man. I never could understand it. You know, as opposed to his twin, who just stayed in one place. He was rather stable. You know, Marvin Birnbaum wrote an article, and I couldn't put my fingers on it. And I'm sure that I'm glad that I heard you're going to speak to it, and that's great, because I don't have that article. But he shared a number of things from his standpoint of working with Bill that were just marvelous. I'm glad to hear that Harold's going to spend some time talking to you about that. You should know a couple of things, though. Some other things about Bill. You know, there was a time when he was inducted into the New York State Court Reporters Hall of Fame, shortly after that position, that award first came about. And as part of that, the then president of the New York State Court Reporters Association, and by the way, we have present with us Gene Beskin, past president of the New York State. We have with us Donald White, past president of the New York State.
Raise your hands so we know who you are.
And current president of the New York State Association, Harriet Brenner Gettleman, who is transforming this association to something really respectable. But then President Don White, in giving that award to Bill, commented that Bill demonstrates the very best that we can be to each other. So you're going to hear a lot of superlatives today, but I wanted you to hear some very human comments about Bill. There's one thing that I just came across this week that I really wanted to share with you. I had heard about it many years ago and forgotten about it, but there was a time when Bill was in basic training in the U.S. Army, stationed in Atlantic City. And that was a time when he and Arnold started perfecting their skills as stenotypists. They practiced every day religiously for an hour or two, reading to each other and so forth. But one story that really does not come out of that often is the fact that they had a physical training instructor who ultimately would become a gentleman who would play a game called baseball and would hit in 56 consecutive baseball games. The name was Joe DiMaggio. And one of Bill's wishes was that he would have attended 56 NCRA conventions. As of this year, Bill attended his 56th NCRA.
Joe and Bill in the same breath.
In the same breath. Ladies and gentlemen, we love him, we respect him. He has guided us and given us motivation and things to shoot for and to emulate, which we probably would not have had without him. Bill, happy birthday from all of us.
Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, can some of you start taking the lunch orders so they can go in the hopper, and we'll continue to talk. You start at that end or this end here. We'll take a break for 5 or 10 minutes, give you orders, then we'll go on with the program. Good idea.
And if you want to have it framed, you can, but I'm going to read it.
We can't afford it, you see.
Yes, we're on a tight budget. The New York State Court Reporters Association, the oldest reporting association in the United States, hereby recognizes with dignity and admiration the 90th birthday of past President William Cone. 1963 is when he was the president. For more than 7 decades, Mr. Cone has guided and indeterminate a number of reporters by his countless seminars, professional committee work, and instructional articles. Innumerable others were motivated by his outstanding achievements. The most outstanding of his peers consider Bill one of the best reporters ever. Highlights of Mr. Cone's legendary career: reported the Japanese war crimes trial, Manila, New York State Supreme Court reporter, Mineola, New York, 1949 through 1972, U.S. District Court reporter, Southern District, New York, 1972 through 2000, freelance reporter, 2000 to the present. This young man still works. Speed Championships Associated Stenotypists of America, 1952, 53, and 54. National Shorthand Reporters Association, that's the old NCRA. 1955, 1956, 1957. Chaired, chaired NCRA Speak Contest for 40 subsequent years. Peer recognition, NCRA 1969 Distinguished Service Award, and NSCRA, New York State Court Reporter, Louis Goldstein Memorial, NSDSA Award, and NCRA Founding Fellow, 1975. In honor of this event, the officers and board of the New York State Court Reporters Association extend to William Cone, who was born on November 14, 1923. Our most sincere birthday wishes and our deepest appreciation for his many years of tireless dedication to our timeless profession. Thank you so much. Great. Thank you.
Should I say something?
You'll have your turn. Bill, take the talk. And Bill, you'll have your not limited to 5 minutes. After you've had your lunch. And Ed Morello, I'd like to say a few words at this time.
Good afternoon, everybody. Let me introduce myself. I'm Ed Morello, now from Boston, Massachusetts. It's great to be in a room where I'm not the oldest person.
We're the Spring Chickens.
By the way, I'm here with my lovely wife, Nancy, who is the president of NCRA. I'm looking around the room and adding up 5 minutes apiece and saying, nope, that's too long. I'm going to set the tone by being less than that. And I'd love to go through a highlight of Bill's career and his accomplishments, but we'll never get out of here if I do that. So I'm going to simply comment to you about how Bill has influenced my life. I first met Bill, well actually I met him in 1964 when he conducted a seminar and I attended, and I was much impressed with him. He spent some time with me and I was flattered by that. And the next year, 1965, on my 19th birthday, I passed the merit exam. So I was a young hotshot. Very exciting for me. Bill came to me at that lunchtime at the convention in Atlantic City, sat with me at lunch along with Nat Weiss, and probed me. How do you practice? What do you find difficult? What do you find works for you? He took an interest in me. Well, I can tell you, I don't remember a thing that I said at that lunch because I think I was tongue-tied. I probably didn't say anything. Bill was my idol. There's no doubt about it. That's the correct word to use. He was my idol. He's the one who got me interested in speed contests, but more importantly, Bill did for me what any good role model does. He made me want to be the best that I could be. Bill has done that for countless people, court reporters, throughout the last 50 years, and he did it for me. He got me interested in court reporting. He got me interested in being the best writer I could be. And more importantly, over the years and the interest that he took in me and the interest that he took in all of us in the speed contest and court reporters generally, he made me realize that there was nothing too small to pay attention to in order to achieve excellence. Excellence was the goal every day, whether you were competing in speed contests or doing your job as a freelancer or an official. He did imbue me with the idea that excellence is the only thing that's acceptable, and it becomes a habit. It's a great habit to get into. You'd all be better off as a profession if everybody took the attitude that excellence is the only acceptable default for everyday work. Bill, of course, is a lot of fun. He ran these speed contests for years, and we were all happy, all of us in the speed contest, very small fraternity. We were always happy to see Bill run the contest because we knew it would go right. And we would have fun with Bill. There would always be a practice session the day before the contest. Bill would be dictating. Everybody's hunched over their machines. Speed contestants are very intense people, especially the day before. So we're hunched over our machines, and Bill said, this is going to be a 220 literary. Holds up his stopwatch. Well, 220 literary is tough, so we're all hunched over, we're ready. The stopwatch clicks, Bill starts reading. You can hear the machines, this is the old days, the mechanical machines. You can hear the machines clack, clack, clacking around the room. And Bill is reading a mile a minute in French. That went on for 5 or 6 or 7 seconds, and all of a sudden, Bill looks up at us, he stopped talking, he says, "What are you people writing?" I want to tell you, Bill, I've always appreciated that. When I borrowed from you, that is been wrong. I've done it for my, well, I've been dictating to people, except my fake French is not as good as your fake French, but I've enjoyed it. I want to thank you, Bill. I've talked long enough now. I want to thank you for being the role model that you have been for me. I hope that I've passed on the tradition of excellence to others that I got from you. I think that the people who know you and have been influenced you by court reporting have an incomparable debt to pay you. It's nice to be here on your 90th birthday to celebrate it with you, and thank you.
Another question Bill could have asked was, what are you dropping? I looked around the room, and based on Ed's comment, I've done a mathematical computation. We need to drop it down to 3.5 minutes. So, Irving Starkman, no, Madam President.
I'm a much better court reporter than photographer, so I give this back gladly.
By the way, I neglected to say that we are endowed the presence of some dignitaries within the profession, some whom I had not met personally, so I apologize, and starting with our president going forward. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. This morning I thought, you know, I don't know Bill as well as a lot of people in this room, so what can I say about Bill? And I remembered one time when the Boston Globe called my husband Ed the Michael Jordan of court reporting. So I started thinking, what other icons out there could describe Bill? And the first one that came to mind, because of all his work in education, was Vince Lombardi. And Vince Lombardi was the ultimate coach. He got the best out of his players. He never had a losing season ever in his career. I think that describes Bill. He gets the best out of his students, and a lot of people in this room can attest to that. So thank you for being that coach. The second one that came to mind, totally surprised me when I started hearing the reference to baseball today, was Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth made baseball what it is today. He made home run the ultimate goal. And I think Bill and his speed contest work and his work with all the reporters around here, he's got a lot of home runs in this room. He's got a lot of career home runs, as Harriet read. So I think between Vince Lombardi and Babe Ruth, we've got the best of the sports world here. And I appreciate you, Bill. And on behalf of the NCRA board, the NCRA staff, and the 18,000 members who don't know it but need our icons and need our role models. I thank you from all of them.
I'm next.
Next, Irving Starkman. Who is he?
Yeah, right. Who the hell is this guy?
It's my fiance.
Who let him in?
He gives speeches at conventions.
My real name is John Prout. Good afternoon, my name is Irv Starkman, I'm from Philadelphia. I must say, before I give a few words about Bill, to follow the Varallos to me is something so special, because years ago, when I was brand new in reporting, I had the guts to go in the evenings over to the Varallo office and sit there and practice with the Varallos. Wow. And to tell you the truth, I thought they were speaking French. Good afternoon, my fellow reporters and friends. As President John Fitzgerald Kennedy said, and so my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. If I may change something, and so my fellow reporters, ask not what your profession can do for you, ask what you can do for your profession. Bill Cohen epitomizes that expression. He is a man of distinction. Bill and his twin brother Arnold won 6 straight speed championships held by the National Shorthand Reporters Association and reached an incredible 280 words per minute on the stenotype machine. I'm sure I don't know Bill for as long a period as some of you in this room. I only know him for 53 years. Whenever I saw him, I felt like I had to bow down because the king entered. He always showed me the highest respect, as I did for him. I respected him for his command of the English language. He is a master of words. As former United States Attorney General Michael B. Mukasey said regarding Bill, a gentleman down to his fingertips. You, sir, have the Midas touch. Everything you touch turns to gold. I thank you, Bill, for your dedication to the court reporting profession. You have helped so many reporters in all phases of the profession.
I get about 220 words a minute.
My
friend Alan. President Barack Obama said, "We did not come to fear the future. We came here to shape it." You sure did that, my friend. Bill, I want to wish you a very happy birthday and many more to come. Sei gesund in all your future endeavors.
You're groveling. Come on,
Can I have
Harold.
that camera back?
Yeah.
Sorry. Let me grab that.
I took one from this side.
Give us a happy smile.
Flash.
I don't think they need it, but I'll try it.
Okay, then.
Hold on 1 second. Okay, smile, guys. You're the best.
Great. Okay.
Don't sit down.
I didn't get a picture.
Wait, I am not a photographer.
I got your picture before, but it's all right.
Okay, I don't have to pay for my lunch, right?
That's it.
Harold Melvin, 220 words a minute, 3 minutes or less.
Yeah, right, 2 minutes.
Well, I slowed down a little, so it'll be a little
Well,
longer.
not how you write, how you speak.
Well, the first thing I want to say is, we all heard that Bill is still working. Well, believe it or not, he was supposed to work today. Nobody knows this except me. He had to give up his job because we're going to honor him on his 90th birthday.
Amazing.
That's number one. And number two, I asked him many, many years ago when I went to the court in Mineola to substitute while he and his brother were taking that famous Weinberg kidnapping case. I don't know when it was, but it was a long time ago. And we got into a conversation about practicing because every morning when we worked there, anybody that was connected to the court had to sit in the classroom and watch Bill and Arnold dictate to us, warming up for the trials or whatever we took for the day in the court. Excellence, as you said, and I learned that. Also, to continue with the famous little ditties that I heard from him over the years, I came to know that he did win 3 years, 1 year. I mean, every other year. He won 1 year, his brother won the other. It went on for 6 years. They finally took the 7th year. And guess what happened? Who won? It was a tie. So I asked Bill, what happens then? And he told me the story that, well, it's like when Joe Louis used to fight a challenger. They'd go all the rounds and it was so close that it would have been a tie, but it wasn't. The former champion always won. So I said, who won the year before? He said, I did. And that's how Bill got his 4th championship. All right, you're nudging me. The only other thing I want to say is this. He did teach me the idea of becoming the top of the line in your field. And he quoted, like you said, somebody said about Joe DiMaggio. He said, remember the baseball players, the ones that get 56 hits in a year, 60 home runs in a year, they're the ones that made the big money. If you're going to take a little insurance case all your life, you're not going to make the big money. You're a performer. And we have to be the best performers we ever were and will continue to be and teach that. And I learned that all from Bill.
One more with the flash. Hold on.
Okay, Dave Horowitz.
I didn't know that we were going to be asked to speak, so it won't be long. As many people will know, because Bill and I palled around as bachelors for many years, he was known as the champ, I was the chump. Everybody knew I had no speed whatsoever. I would attest to that. He was as substitute as I was, $30 a day, and whatever transcript you got. Well, I did that for about 2 or 3 years, maybe more, and I was told that I was fired that day. Some reporter had written to some politician, and a reporter was made. This took place in Albany under Rockefeller, and I was told that I was no longer needed. So, and excuse me, simultaneously, I'm having trouble recollecting this, you know, I'm Bill's age. a test was announced for the Supreme Court. And when it came to discussing my chances of passing, everybody laughed. And I grieved. Well, several people told me they would help me. They set up a dictating session, practice session, and they all backed out and said they didn't want to be part of a losing proposition. And this is true. And then finally I went to Bill. I said, is there a possibility? He said, this is what we'll do. Don't do anything. Anything. Just, you like movies, go to 42nd Street, see the movies, they're on all night, and sleep till about 2 o'clock. And then I'll be over a couple hours later. But I should say, I was living in Queens, and he was doing a daily in Riverhead, about 100 miles away. While in Riverhead doing this daily, he took material, timed it out, and arrived at my place as soon as he could. Gave me a couple of hours. He said, now go to the movies. He knew me. To everybody's surprise, I passed. And we had a party immediately, a block away from the courthouse. Many will remember Gloria Casaro at her place. And it's been quite a run. So for the next 25 years or so, we worked together as we had before. This time with status. Before I was making $30 a day, whatever transcript I could get, and now I had the heights of the Supreme Court job. And I owe it all to Bill. And he's been a friend, a pal, my neighbor, lives across the street. So we're able to have a cup of coffee and discuss old times. And I wish they had told me that I could say a few words that I would say more. But I'm out of words.
I understand that a number of you have had a chance earlier to express your feelings about Bill individually, so I will not go around each person, but in order from front to rear, who next would like to say a few words to Bill?
I'll say something.
Okay.
Okay. So, yeah, sure. Yeah.
How do I work it? Or
Just,
is it-
it's on.
Okay.
I'm Noah Collin. I'm Bill Cohen's grand-nephew. Some of you know that he taught me stenography from day one. I was going to actually talk about his commitment to excellence, but I think Ed Varallo captured that pretty eloquently. So I think I'm just going to tell you about how Bill is very selfless in court reporting and outside of court reporting. In his family, he's always there, despite being always there for his family of court reporters. And I just wanted to say that although he taught me all the lessons of steno that I need for a successful career, the most important lesson he taught me was to be willing to give to the people you love and to go the extra mile when people might not even be asking for it. So that's what I learned from Bill. I learned it from his shining example. So
Thank you, Noah.
okay, thanks. All right, I'll take it back. Thanks all.
Okay, John Prout?
I don't have a full glass, but I'll take a glass up anyway. I'm John Prout, and I'm from New Jersey. Don't hold that against me. I did not work with Bill. I did not study under Bill. And I can't remember exactly when I met him. You're saying, well, what is he doing up here now?
Yeah, what are you doing here?
Yeah. But I do recall that I met him at a national convention, and I had heard about him from so many other people before. As others have said before me, he's a shining example, a wonderful person. And he did give me some very good advice, though. I recall when we did meet, and I can't recall the city that the convention was in, but somehow we got to talking one morning about breakfast. And I had had breakfast in the hotel, and I guess I wasn't too satisfied with it or something. And Bill said to me, anytime the convention is held in a downtown area, don't eat in the hotel, go out and walk 2 blocks, you'll find a good diner or cafe. And it'll be a lot cheaper and better. So, I didn't get real serious advice from him, but I got advice that I have passed on to a lot of other people. And I've used it myself. But on a more serious note, I want to toast Bill Cohen as a consummate professional, gentleman, and caring person.
Here, here.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Well, the toast, we're going to get drunk before we leave here.
Yeah. Here,
Next, would like to say something going...
right behind you.
Oh, here you are. Nice to meet you.
Hi, I am Bliss Clark, and I'm a court reporter, and I've only been here for 4 years. I relocated from San Francisco to here, so I had all my training as a court reporter in California. But when I met Mr. Cohen, which is how me and Pat at the very end and Curtis call him Mr. Cohen, he has been a very big inspiration to me, and I totally appreciate his wisdom and what he has input into my career, because now I am a full-fledged court reporter, and I still go to him when I can, if the work is not too busy, to get information from him, because I still want to get all my letters behind my name. And I know that Pat and Curtis want to do the same thing. They want all those letters behind our name. So I appreciate Mr. Cohen, and I just want to say happy birthday.
It is so really refreshing and exciting to hear such enthusiasm from the next generation going forward.
3 generations.
The next one now. Yes. Multiples. Yes, come on. Vincent?
Vincent, yes. What he said, keep it short. So I had it constructed here. I think somebody, I have a lawsuit going on. Somebody took my speech. Happy birthday, Bill. Bill, if I get any of this wrong, feel free to submit an errata sheet since I wasn't quite there. You heard this call just now, and so my fellow Americans, we don't do that. And so my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. John F. Kennedy's inaugural address, January 20th, 1961. Almost 2 decades before those words were uttered, circa 1943, Bill and Arnold served in the Army Air Force Court-Martial Court, then reported for the UN War Crimes Commission. Bill served a career in the Supreme Court, then another career in Southern District Federal Court, where he primarily reported at a lightning-fast, highly intelligent yet incomprehensible Judge Sbrizzo, thereby relieving some pressure from his partners. His entrepreneurial spirit now rages on as an independent and, more recently, a life preserver to the overburdened Southern District. All the while, like a shining comet, as Isan now approaches the sun, a wake of qualified reporters flow in his trail. Some would say Bill promulgated and propagated our field of choice. I say he has strengthened this very country and our Constitution. Ours is a court of record forged by reporters in the heat of argument. Like so much dust in his stellar career, I, as a recipient witness, report the following. Again, happy birthday, Bill. With these luminaries of court reporting present, permit me to introduce myself. Hello, I'm Vincent Bologna. 41 years ago, I began working with court reporters at Eastern District, New York. making carbon setups and correction typing after high school. Following high school graduation, I went to Southern District doing back office work and correction typing after college classes. Following sophomore year at Brooklyn College, my dad was threatened with the loss of his job. Thus, I interrupted college studies to work full-time at Southern District. What great serendipity for me that Bill was there at that stage of his life and my life. My supervisor, Dorothy Alexander, informed that Bill teaches reporting. So as to thwart mental stagnation and aware that college grads were graduating into cabbies at that time in 1975, I and the office mate humbly approached Bill to plead for acceptance as students. In short, Bill rigorously interviewed us. Thus began sessions with our mentor, Bill. He encouraged my enthusiasm in reporting, as did the camaraderie of the Southern District reporters. Also, the price was right. All Bill ever asked was for effort, lots of effort, by us and by him. We took classes every morning between 8:30 and 9, with Fridays 7:30 to 9, a minimum of 2 hours of practice nightly. We didn't even see the book. He would instruct us on home position, what and where to write verbally, then provide an arbitrary list to study. He is a realist, preparing one for the true rigors of reporting. I was blessed with a rarity that is cherished and as valuable as good parents. A very rare thing indeed. An outstanding mentor and friend. I learned theory from Bill using the first computer theory book. Then went to Stenotype Institute for a while, entering at the 120 class. They wanted to know where I learned to write, both in style and sharpness. Said I had the best, of course. Executing a formula of note reading, correction typing, school and practice, I graduated and started reporting at age 23. I freelanced under Bob Shelley and Dick Portis at Cardinal-affiliated Zimmer Reporting for another 3 years. Then I joined Southern District in freelance capacity at age 26. I was appointed an official at age 29. All the while at Southern District, I partook in Bill's speed development classes along with Brad Raynoff, Eric Brody, Lynn Vanden Hende, Sam Morrow, others, many of whom are either contest winners or qualifiers. He would dictate dense medical appellate opinions, court transcript, and New York Times editorials as literary to us. In retrospect, I realized we never heard any Wall Street Journal editorials. Oh well, perhaps it wasn't delivered in New York, or maybe the Times effected more precise editing back then. Through the years, having attained New York State CSR, RMR, then CRR status, though never a contest participant, I have managed to maintain life's balance with a wonderful wife of 23 years. Today, actually, is my anniversary. 3 fantastic children. Kurt and my wife would be here, except it's also my mother-in-law's 70th birthday party. And she wanted me. 3 fantastic children, currently 2 grandchildren, a church family, and an amazing career by maintaining my own in an office composed of many of reporting's contest winners and qualifiers, state, national, and international, and I pride myself on rarely having a placard. My foundation, and thus that of my family, is built upon the generosity of Bill's time and investment in me. For that, I am forever indebted to his vision, altruism, belief in others, and mentoring. I am sure all our peers and other students will echo my perceptions of this wonderful person and great American. May God bless you, Bill, with good health, satisfaction, and joy. I know you will be, and I hope to be, around for your 100th. Once again, happy 90th birthday, Bill.
Is there anyone else who would like to say a few words? Please come up.
Yeah, right behind you again.
This gentleman on the right, and then... Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you. Yeah, come on up.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Curtis Williams. I have known Mr. Cohen for 4 years now, and Mr. Cohen is my tutor and mentor. There has been a lot said about this wonderful man, and I just want to say, I'll be very brief. There's an old saying that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And even though I had a rocky time learning stenography, there was a desire to learn. And I think that that is what prompted my meeting this great court reporting master. And I just want to say, Mr. Cohen, thank you for kicking my butt with dictation. And I look forward to much more. Thank you, and have a happy 90th birthday.
All right, I got it.
To your right also.
Over
To your
here.
right. Over here, Curtis. Curtis. Okay without the flag?
Beautiful.
Very good. Very good.
All right, Carl.
Very good.
Tom Murray, come forward. Okay, my name is Tom Murray, and I'm, at this point, the oldest court reporter in the Southern District Court Report.
Wow, really? And you're only
That's to set
32.
the context here. When I first started court reporting, Bill had retired from the New York State system and joined the federal system. We all knew it. I did some freelancing, and then I decided I'd come into the federal courthouse. And when I did, I got accepted, and you always think you're hot stuff when you get accepted there. So I waltzed in, and I was able to do the computer, and everybody thought, wow, that's good. And I did my first couple of jobs in court, and Bill was reading my transcript. So the problem with court reporting is you can't fool yourself. I asked Bill, well, what do you think? And Bill said, it's kind of slop. Well, I spent the next 25 years working on it. And I'm so glad that Bill has some students here. His grandnephew, and you guys down there. I got to tell you something. This is what we do with our lives. We invest our emotions and everything that we've got in this business. It's what it takes. It's performing. It's like an opera singer. It takes everything you got. Hal said it, but not as well.
But I performed well.
You guys, I've watched students come out from Bill's teaching over the years, and they're the best in the business. It's the best. There is no anything like it. So you understand that you are being taught by the equivalent of Babe Ruth of our profession, and you really take that to heart. I'm not done yet.
Alan said you were.
I am done. Been great.
We have another up-and-comer. Say a few words.
My name is Pat. I am a student of Mr. Cohen. Speaking is not my forte. I'm going to say a little bit, but I'll cry. I'm a crybaby. So, Mr. Cohen, I met him, I was in school, and he came down and he needed someone to speak 4 voice. So he had 3 people and he needed 1 more. So I went and I did the 4 voice with Mr. Cohen, and I was going to the classes with him, and he said one day, I said, Mr. Cohen, I said, it's kind of hard for me to get, I'm not getting everything. And he says to me, well, you know what? You're too old to start in this profession. And I kept going. I said, Mr. Cohen, I'm going to do it. And I became a court reporter. I am a working court reporter. Thanks to Mr. Cohen, I stuck in there. I go to classes, and just about every transcript that I send out now, Mr. Cohen has to proof it before I send it. So he's been great. I appreciate him. I've never met anyone like him. And all I can say is I just want him to be here forever.
I got it. Okay, I got it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Maria Gardner.
I never had the privilege of working with this wonderful man, but I had the fantastic privilege of working with his identical twin brother, Arnold. He was my boss in Nassau Supreme. Turning out a great transcript was always the goal when you're working with these brothers. Chasing the elusive word is always a court reporter's nightmare, but Don was also one of my teachers. I had the great privilege of knowing 4 gods of court reporting. One was Bill Cohen. The other one was his identical brother, Arnold. The third one was Nat Weiss. I didn't know him very well, but I did know him. And the fourth one was Dominic Tursi.
Yes.
The 4 gods of court reporting. That's right. That's right. I am so privileged. I love being a court reporter. I love being retired too. And thank you to all of you for such excellence in the field. And also, when Arnold retired, they had a wonderful story in Newsday, full page. This was a picture of Arnold taking the Japanese war crimes trial. Just substitute Arnold's face for Bill's. I'll pass it around. Please pass it around so that everyone
Can you hold it up for a minute before you do?
Oh, okay.
Over there? Yeah. Okay. It'll be good. Okay. Perfect.
Thank you.
Before the next person speaks, now that the hot food's out, you're motivated. I just got a call from Woody. All right. MRI is fine. He just had a glass or 2 of wine with an Ambien to go to sleep, and that was the issue, and he's fine. Okay? Great.
Ladies and gentlemen, Don White.
Bill, God bless you. Happy birthday. I came out of the Army. I was a Greg writer. Bill, to this day, writes Greg and can read it. I write Greg. I have no idea what the hell it is. But at that time, I went to Interboro Institute, and at Interboro there was this amazing faculty. It was Bill, Arnold, Charlie Forster, David Horowitz, and Gloria Casaro. Gloria was my first teacher, and then as things got better, he went up and up and up, and finally wound up with the master. And my story is this. I mean, excuse me, sir. You're welcome. When I took the RPR and I went for the examination, Bill was the dictator, and he said to me, "You're going to take the merit." And I said, "I'm nowhere near the merit." He said, "Well, take it and we'll see what happens." Well, thanks to him, I took the RPR and the merit in one day and passed both. He had that confidence, and he had the ability to drive me to do that, because otherwise I just thought it was a crazy idea. But Bill is that kind of inspiration. I know that if Bill said you can walk on water, you can walk on water. It's guaranteed. Bill, God bless. Thank you for everything.
Okay. Next person, come on up, introduce yourself.
Gene Baskin.
Hi, I'm Jane Baskin, past president of the New York State Court Reporters Association, which is the oldest existing court reporting association in the country. And I'm very proud to have served almost 40 years after people come to you that could stand on your shoulders for the way you carried our profession and perpetuated it. So we're very grateful, and we wish you a very happy 90th birthday and many, many more years to come of good health.
Okay, wait, hold it.
Thank you.
Okay. We have someone else now that would like to speak.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Kislingberry.
Where's Mark?
Hey!
I first met Bill in the 90s at a speed contest, and I was at a dinner like this before the speed contest, and I was talking about something that might have been my forte, and Bill said, "You know, the word forte is French, and it's not forte. There's no accent on it. It's fort." I said, "Well, merci beaucoup." And I see Bill at every convention, and I'm so happy to see him there. And I decided to make a brief for Bill's name because I like briefing, right? So I thought I'd do B plus H-O-E-N, you know, for Bill Cohen. So that's my brief for Bill Cohen, Bahone, right? So one day he comes to my booth at the convention, and at my booth I've got this book out that I've written with tons of briefs in it on how to write short. He walks up to my booth, looks through it, puts it down, and he says, you know, you don't need to write short like this. You just need to cut your hesitation, that's all. He said, it doesn't make you write faster. I said, does too. He said, does not. I said, does too. He said, does not. So we stopped there. A few minutes later, I run into Ed Farallo and I said, I just had this debate with Bill Cohen about writing short. He said, I've been debating with Bill for decades. But anyway, you guys have all heard, Bill has done practically everything that there is to do in court reporting. And you've heard the old saying, everyone remembers where they were when Kennedy was shot. Well, I remember where I was when he became the president of the New York Court Reporters Association. I was in my crib because I was born in 1963. But what so much inspires me about Bill, he's done everything there is to do in court reporting. He's done all the contests. He most impresses me that he goes to these conventions every year. He told me he's working on his real time, which I know a lot of young court reporters aren't working on. He takes his time to train other students. He continues to work every day. Each of those things inspire me. I hope I'm working when I'm 70, and if I live to be 80, I'm hoping that I'm working. So all those things are very inspiring to me, Bill, and happy birthday to you. And if somebody asked me the question, how would you epitomize court reporting, Mark, what would you do? I'd say I can do it in one stroke. B-H-O-E-N.
You know, we have so many accomplished reporters who write different systems, but the key is that they're all accomplished, and we love being proud of. We're influenced by Bill in one way or another.
Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to make sure that we put this in the right context. The person who just spoke to you not only holds the Guinness Book of World Records record, thank you.
Have another wine.
I'm redundant. One more glass. For writing at 360 words per minute. But appears today, having just flown up from Texas and is on his way back home this afternoon to celebrate Bill. I want you to understand this is probably one of the most elite gathering of court reporting geniuses in the world, if not at least this side of Newark, something like that. We all know of Ed Verallo, the man who not only has won speed contests, but has done it in 4 different decades. We have a variety of people in this room who are at the helms. They run the court reporting profession. They're all looked up to. And all of these people look up to the man who we are here to pay tribute to. So I wanted to put this in context. And the other thing I wanted to indicate is the fact that not only is Mark here from Texas, but we have a number of other states represented here just for this luncheon. The Verallos are from Massachusetts, and I'm going to let everybody else because I will not get it straight. Irving, starting with you, just indicate what state you're here from. I think that everybody around the table would love to hear that.
Pennsylvania.
John? New Jersey.
Long Island.
Long Island.
Long Island.
Long Island.
Long Island. Tuxedo, New York.
Hey,
New York.
New York.
Long Island.
Long Island.
Long Island.
Texas.
Yeah.
New York. New York. New York.
New York.
New York.
Brooklyn.
Yeah, there you go.
Say New York, I'm Staten Island.
All right.
New York.
New York.
New Jersey.
Miami, Florida. There are 2 Miamis.
And of course, Woody is from New Jersey. By the way, this was all put together 2 weeks ago. And I've just got to thank you, being a hometown boy. Thank you all for being here. This is certainly not the conclusion, it's just my thank you for all being here, for the man who we all respect so very, very highly. Thanks.
And also, if you could write to Woody to say thank you. He did do a lot of the legwork for putting this together, so drop him a line. Oh, I'm sorry.
No. You're written down. Do we have anyone else here who wishes to speak? If not, I have some words from Woody to share with you all. Do you have another one? Come on up forward, please.
My name is Lindsay Hunty. I met Bill Cohen in the early 90s when I went to Southern District and became an official reporter. Bill was my mentor there. I learned so much from him. He made me a better reporter. Bill, I want to say thank you for sharing your wisdom, your time, and for your guidance. You are a great man, Bill Cohen, and an inspiration. I love you.
Okay, I got it.
The cat, Lynn's cat.
I got you a present.
You should say Minnesota.
I told you I'm not a photographer. Try look once. I don't like it.
I'll email you this. I took a picture too.
Okay, next.
Bill, hi, I'm Mitch, Lynn's husband. Bill, I want to thank you for your friendship. I want to thank you for lending us your car to go to a wedding. And I got in the car and I started to drive and the steering wheel came off. So not only do I want to thank you for your generosity, but also your trust and faith. So, thank you.
Okay.
In 1965 was the first speed contest that Woody experienced. In the practice room was Doris Wang, Howard Lubin, into nostalgia here, Dick Tuttle, Fred Trachty, Craig Windsor Wallace, Lou Dunbar, and two kids. The two kids were Eddie Varello and Woody Wago. Practice was fine. We read back and impressed the old-timers. Then Bill Cohen and Matt Weiss walked in to assist. Woody likens them to walking in the room were David Niven and Edward G. Robinson. Eddie and Woody froze. We knew there was greatness in the room. Today, Eddie and I are the old-timers. Bill and Nat are older. How time plays tricks on us all. I am humbled to now be a colleague of Bill. I am grateful for the fine lessons of speed contest humility Bill has successfully passed on. No speed rider ever plays the immodest card, thanks to Bill. God bless you, you great legend. Woody Wago. I did. Now, I did mention earlier, and Don reminded me in case you all didn't hear it. Well, initially, Woody had help with the formation of the idea. Noah and Don and Ed. Woody ended up doing the work leading up to this event, which we all appreciate, and I will express to Woody how much all of you do appreciate his efforts. I know Bill does very much. And it really was difficult for Woody not to be here. I think he would have been here in a gurney if Marilyn didn't hold him back. But he sounded good when I spoke with him before he called in the middle of lunch, which is why I had to go away to the table. And he's glad that it's going well. He wishes he'll be here, so I know you'll all contact him. I'm going to speak now, and my tale can't take 2 minutes, but I'll take a little more, considering we have the time. I received a scholarship was raised in a children's home, to go to business college, and it was Interboro. And I learned I was really in some good company. And I finished in 11 months. So I asked if I could have the remainder of the unused tuition. And they said, of course, it doesn't work that way. So nice try. So nice try. You know, from Brooklyn, you know.
Even then.
Even then. My clients didn't win very often, let me tell you. Anyway, so I ended up in Interboro, and I finished, and I went to night school, and Charlie Foster was teaching and moonlighting at night, speed. So I had the privilege of also being motivated by Charlie. I was about to become more motivated by Bill. He stopped in the middle of his dictation. He was doing the New York Times stock quotations at 2:35. I have to give him a lot of credit for help later on. He said, Jack Mellicoat just left Florida. He's hiring court reporters, and asked Bill Cohen if he knew anybody, and Bill called Charlie Foster in Interboro that night. And Charlie said, Benowitz, you ought to go down there. You're 19, you don't have any ties. Well, before that, I was frustrated. Bill knew this. I took the circuit court exam when I was 18. I passed it, but I couldn't take a job. It had to be 21 in Connecticut. And I placed fairly well in the hearing reporter exam, state of New York, out of 500. I applied to unemployment department. I was working for Motor Vehicle Bureau for a few months. And so I took the position. And I went down to Florida in 1961. I like to say I went south and the Cubans came north. Now, I owe Bill an awful lot, because if it were not for Bill, I would not have had the opportunities that I had over the years. Meeting my first wife and having my 2 children. If I stayed here, they may have taken a different form and shape. And then working with Jack Mellicoat and being mentored by Jack and by Doris Malden and others. And I have to thank Taylor Reese, because he and the other three other court reporters were who left and made it possible for me to be in Miami. My wife and I have a log home up in Burnsville, North Carolina. We go up there in summer and fall. And Taylor Reese happens to have a home and lives there year-round in North Carolina, half the year also, 10 minutes away from me. So it's really something how things come around. Well, after that, I worked for Jack for 8 years. I formed my own company, and I started going to conventions. But before that, while I worked for Jack, the 1964 convention came around, and I used to see reporters in Jack's office, because Jack was a third-place speed champion himself, practicing every morning. And I asked, I won't mention names, I says, gee, what are you doing? He said, we're practicing for the merit exam and the contest. And I said, well, can I join you? This was now 3 months before the convention. And I was told by this individual and others, mostly one, well, you need to really practice for 6 months, because you really can't do it. So I didn't practice. And convention rolled around, and we're at a cocktail reception the night before, and Jack was drinking a lot of scotches, and he had a competitor in Jacksonville called Thyra Ellis, who had a protege. And she told him that she was also feeling her oats and spirits. I have a reporter who'll beat any reporter you got. So what does Jack do? On his 4th scotch, he says, Benowitz, you better effing take that exam. If not, you're fired. So I believed him at 22. I was very impressionable. So, but I said, but you have to pass all 3 parts of the merit. He says, I don't care. You're going to have to take it. So I never failed the test in school, and I wrote scared. I took it at the luncheon. I heard the names being rattled off of our mentors and idols in the profession. Marty Finson, Lee Beal, and others, and we'll go down the line. And so they were reading off the results of the merit, and I got the first leg. No one knew who I was. And then they read off the second one, and they mentioned about 8 or 9, 12 names, down the list. And I got the second, then all of a sudden there was a buzz in the room. Who's this kid? And then they read off the third, and I got all 3 parts of the merit.
Wow.
And this is what happens when you have a drunken boss who makes you write scared. And I don't think Bill mentioned that the other criteria is writing scared. That helps an awful lot. So then comes the speed contest, and the first leg, they read off about a dozen or 15 names and comes down third place in one part, Alan Benowitz. And the room was really buzzing. Then the second leg, I hear fifth, sixth, fifth, fourth. I says, good, the pressure's off. Monty Vincent, fourth place. And then my name was read off in third place. It was fifth and third in those two exams. And of course, the person who said I couldn't do it was hiding under the table. And then comes the 280 testimony. And by the way, I have to say that, and I have to divulge, the reason I was in third place and not fourth place is that Marty Vincent skipped the flap in his transcription. Remember that?
Tell people what that means.
Okay, in your paper notes, right? In your paper notes. Right. When, now, I'm not saying that I would have, I don't know by how many points, but that's a good reason why he probably didn't come in. I may have anyway, but we don't know that. But the point is, when you turn up your pages manually, 2 pages stuck together. And he missed that flap. Anyway, comes down to the final leg, and all the names started getting rattled off, and down to third place, no mention, second, no mention, good, the pressure's off. Then the winner was announced by Bill, it was Alberta Buster. Okay, so I didn't come in. And Bill took an interest in me, and he marked the papers. He dictated the Connecticut exam and the hearing reporter exam, and he said, Alan, what happened? In the first 4 minutes, you had a perfect paper. What happened? In the last minute, the left bank was almost like chicken scratches. Well, what I didn't tell anybody until now, and there are very few people, is that I had a tumor, cancerous tumor removed from my left shoulder 3 months prior. I hadn't written for 2.5 months until 2 weeks before the contest. And my left shoulder went into spasm. But Bill took such a personal interest in me, I was touched by it, and I never forgot it. And I have to tell you that in addition to meeting my current wife now, and having an opportunity to do many things in the profession that were accomplished because of my enthusiasm spawned by Bill's interest in this student, they wouldn't have happened. And Bill says, well, if you stayed in New York, you probably would have anyway. I said, well, not quite. I met maritime lawyer clients, aviation lawyer clients, and that took me all over the world. And that segued to my involvement in videotaping and video conferencing, and then photography, and now my full-time job will be after the end of this year as a fine art photographer. I'm having an international exhibition in December during Mount Boswell. So all these things probably would not have happened had Bill not sent me down to Florida. Thank you, Bill. Get a picture here, of course. I have everyone else's picture of me and my family pictures, you know. Thank you. Thank you.
And lens cap.
Lens cap.
Important piece. All right, gentlemen, laugh like you love each other. Awesome.
Now.
I'm not a photographer.
We have a number of letters and comments for those who could not attend today, which I'm going to give to you, Bill. I'm going to put it over here so you can get it. I'll put it right in here. Okay? And also, we have something to show our appreciation. I have to say that Dom, Ed, and Noah, and Woody are responsible for this plaque engraved in glass, which I'll read to you. Get some contrast here. William Cohen, reporter extraordinaire, a man of inimitable character, flawless talents, selfless, lacking professional and personal ego, a mentor to thousands, a friend to all. With gratitude, Noah P. Collin, Dominic M. Tercy, Ed Borello, Woody Wega, November 16, 2013. Did it flash back? We'll turn it on an angle. Take another one, just in case. No. I'm turning this on an angle.
I'm literal.
That's okay.
Stand on an angle.
I'm not an artist.
Stand in the right lane.
All right, one more this
catch
way.
one.
Hold on. All right.
One more over here.
They'll go around.
You should have left the lens cap on.
We are ahead of schedule, so feel free to enjoy your lunch, socializing, and the rest of the afternoon. Now, before we're done, Bill is eating right now. When Bill is finished with his lunch, we're going to hear a few words from Bill. You want to say that?
I'm ready to talk.
Why don't we go to one second, Bill?
We're not ready to hear, Bill.
Bill, before you do, Bill, 1 second.
They're gonna put me
We
to
wanted
the
to get a
test
picture,
one
because
more
we didn't get a
time.
picture before when I said.
Eddie, can you back up just a little bit?
Lens cap off?
Not at all.
All right, one more with a smile. Fantastic.
Okay. Congratulations again.
Now let's go to the middle of the room.
While you're walking down there, Bill, could you please tell us the secret to getting to the point you've gotten to in life so we can all...
It's very easy to answer that question. It's my twin brother. Because when we started Cinetype, they had tape recorders, but they were wire recorders. And they worked like for 30 seconds and the wire would break. So we gave up on them, and my tape recorder, or digital recorder, was my twin brother. And if it weren't for his dictation, and my dictation to him, his dictation to me, in the Army for 3.5 years, we wouldn't have gotten the speed that we did. Because when we went into the Army, we were at Stenotype about 11 months. We had about 160 words a minute, and we were going to Queens College in the day. So we would do it only weekends. But at 17 years of age, I guess you have aptitude and you have the strength to do it. Then I still remember I had a rash of styes on my eye, one after another on both eyes. And my mother took me to an ophthalmologist, and he said it's all tension, and people have different weaknesses where it comes out if you're working too tensely. And he has to stop everything, college and reading and spend time everything for a month. So when we left, my mother said, well, how about that? I said, impossible. So this was like October or November. I was drafted in December. And in the Army, 2 weeks after I was in the Army, I went into basic training, all the styes disappeared. It was all due to tension. And I got a lesson from that, where now I have, for instance, a student who, or a person who's working as a paralegal in the day and going to school to get a degree in the evening, and she wants to take up Stenotype at the same time. So I said, so she asked my advice. I said, don't do it, because the tension of working all day, going to college evening, and then doing Stenotype is too much. You're going to have a nervous breakdown. You're going to have something happen. It's not a good idea. You can wait till you graduate from college and then do it. Now, the other point I want to make that you'd all be interested in is I have a great short form. Because I'm doing a lot of real time, and I'm converting a lot of homonyms to English. It's not a good idea, even if it's one stroke, to write a lot of letters, because each one has to come out perfectly. So I didn't like the outline for environment, which is like D-I-R-E-T. So I changed it to V-E-U, VIT. That's environment. V-E-U-L is environmental, and V***E-U-S is environmentalist. So that takes care of it. You're taking notes. Now, I'm not opposed to, people think that, oh, you write everything out. I do write out a great deal, but I have short forms for very frequent words. Environment happened to be a word that I took expect the Planning Commission in Nassau, and in every case in environment, environmental, and whatnot. So I used to get it pretty frequently. But I want to thank all the speakers for all the
things they said, I don't even recognize myself. But it's been court reporting has been very good to me. And since in the Army was desperate for anybody who knew shorthand. So as soon as you went in, they knew what your, I forget what they called it, something like an MOS or something. It was a certain number, a stenographer. So as soon as they saw that, they immediately put you into a judge advocate to be a court-martial reporter. So when we finished basic training in Atlantic City, everybody, we had about 80 of us finished the course, and they shipped them out to Florida, to Missouri, California, everywhere. Arnold and I were shipped 100 feet down the boardwalk in the convention hall where the judge advocate had offices on the upper level. So I told the fellow, the colonel, I said, Colonel, I'm not sure, I've never taken a court-martial. I just have learned this, but I haven't taken anything. So I said, I don't know if I have enough speed. He said, what is your speed? I said, about 175. He says, we have a fellow now that we're going to let go who takes 50 words a minute. He's been taking our courts-martial. So in other words, that's good to have anybody do it in the Army. So we did it in the Army, but we also, we didn't know too much about court reporting, except, since we had just taken it up by ourselves, except that we heard 200 words a minute. You got to get 200 words a minute. So we misinterpreted that. We didn't realize it was just sort of an easy 200 words, but we thought they meant 200 words a minute on an editorial or a legal opinion. So when we were practicing, I still remember in Atlantic City, we started out, we did it between a half an hour and an hour every evening. And during the day, when the interstices of the day, we would time out takes. So we had the takes for the evening to dictate. And we started out Times editorials, I still remember at 130, just about hold on to it. And then when we started getting it more comfortably, 140, 150, and we ended up 3.5 years later, taking about 210. Now, and the reason I didn't have any short forms is I had no one to ask how to write something. Because I was just by myself in the Army, so I just wrote editorials doesn't give much opportunity for short forms anyway. So I would just write syllabic. I still remember we used to get Czechoslovakia a lot. So I write Czechoslovakia. I used to doing it. And I got used to writing very well syllabically. Right. I knew how to break it down and write it very quickly, and unusual words and whatnot. So when we got out of the Army, we freelanced, and they held a test for the UN after we were freelancing about 2 months. And about 25 people took it. Now, what was the incentive for regular reporters, Supreme Court reporters, something like that? It was tax-free. It was the same salary as the Supreme Court, but tax-free because of the UN. So we took this test. They had one vacancy, and my brother Arnold came out first, I came out second. So they just took the one, and he went into the UN. And I freelanced for about a year or so, and mostly, while I started out with skills reporting companies, but after about 3 months, I took one deposition in the surrogate's court, and a reporter named Van Gelder was the senior reporter there, so I forget his first name. But at any rate, he thought I did a good job, so he kept hiring me, and it was great work. I mean, very easy depositions. You go all day long and get 100 pages without any problem. Then they announced the Supreme Court exam, and we took the Supreme Court exam, and it was statewide. 800 reporters took it, and it was a very hard test. It was all about nature up. And 34 people of the 800 passed. So these were all 800 official reporters. And a phenomenal reporter, a lot like Alan Benowitz, had an aptitude. And I know that because this reporter came out first on the list. 8 years before that, I was going to a dictation class. I was about 15, 16 years old. in the class were mostly lawyers because a lot of lawyers in 1939, 1940 took up court because they couldn't make a living. Not the heart, but the end of the Depression, but the Depression meant no jobs for lawyers. So they were all taking up reporting. They turned to me, they said, see that guy? And this fellow was reading back 200 words a reading, right back, first stenograph. So I said, see that fellow? He said, I started with him. I'm working more hours than he is at home because I'm a family man. I have to get this. And he says, I have 120 words a minute. At the same time, he's got 200. So that's aptitude. And he was the only one in the whole city of New York, in all the education and whatnot, who had such an aptitude where whatever he took, he got 3 times as much out of it. And of course he wrote the T-H-E. That was the sort of system he had. He just wrote everything out the way he heard it, but he had such an aptitude. So he came out first, Arnold came out second, and I came out third. So we immediately were, and at that time you were appointed to where you lived. So it was the 10th Judicial District, Queens, Nassau, and Suffolk. And we lived in Jackson Heights, which is Queens. So Al Morris, the chief reporter in Queens, called the 3 of us up to talk to us about the job. He says, look, you're going to be appointed, but we only have 2 vacancies. So we're going to, and he said, let's see now, this didn't have to do with Bob Shelley, who was this phenomenal fellow. This had to do with another guy, Greg Ryder, who beat all the stenotypists. He was 14th on the list of the 800. There was about half manual shorter writers and half stenotypists. So Ed Van Allen, who was a phenomenal Greg Ryder, phenomenal. So when we went in, the chief reporter said, Ed Van Allen has been probationary in this court for the last year, and the judges told me if he gets within the first 3, you better appoint him. He said, so I have my orders that he has to be appointed even though he's 3rd. But, as he said, so one of you 2 cones is going to be appointed. So he said, Arnold will appoint Arnold, he's ahead of you. I said, fine. Well, I didn't expect to get that far anyway. Then, so we all left, and Arnold was told he's going to be appointed, and Ed Van Allen. 3 days later, I get a call from Al Morris, from the chief reporter in Queens. I get a call from Al Morris. He says, I want to talk to you. So I go in. He says, our chief judge is Hallinan. He's a very powerful guy in Albany. He's got a lot of influence. And he said, he called me in. He said, you're making those appointments? And I said, yes. He said, you're appointing those all 3? He said, I saw the list. You're appointing 2 Cones and Van Allen? He says, no, I'm only appointing Van Allen and 1 guy. So I said, well, why don't you appoint all 3? He says, because there are only 2 vacancies. He says, I'll take care of that. He picks up the phone, he calls Albany, the chief of the civil service. And he says, look, this is the chief judge down here, and we're very short of reporters, and it's on a Friday. He says, I want another slot to make another vacancy, and we're going to make the appointment immediately. So they say, oh, whatever you say, Judge. So now this chief reporter is telling me that this is what happened, and therefore you're going to be appointed in about a week. This is near the end of December of 1949. So they appointed me to Queens. They appointed Arnold to Suffolk, and Van Allen went to Nassau. So Arnold tells me, he says, I've never been in a courtroom. I'm going out to the Supreme Court there, but I don't know what quite I'll do. So I said, I'll give you the advice. I had been in a municipal court for a year. I said, talk to the clerk of the court, what you should take, what you shouldn't take. He said, just all right. So he goes out there the first day, and he sees this old guy, Fred Skinner. So he goes up to him, he says, look, I'm very new and I'm not too aware of what I should take or whatnot.
Speak up, Paul.
He said, could you help me? So he said, he looks at him and says, this is my first day on the job. He was a political appointment, he got the job, and he didn't know any more than I. So I figured that the only way to do it is to take everything. So he said, I took the calendar call, I took the motion, a lot of stuff that later I learned you don't have to take. But he also told me it was a very lucrative court because you always had 3 or 4 uncontested matrimonials every day. And each one by statute had to be transcribed. And in like 15 pages, so you, I don't know, maybe $1 a page, whatever they got. So he said it was funny. So he got the job for a month. And he got a lot of orders for transcripts. Meanwhile, I'm in Queens, and I'm sitting there in the calendar part being signed. So I'm sitting there all day, and about 2 or 3 times during the day, the judge brought me the chambers to take down stipulation, etc. But otherwise, nothing to do. So I figured I'm going to try to go to law school in the evening. At that time, there was a reporter in the Brooklyn Supreme Court, because he's like 100 feet from Brooklyn Law School. He would in the evening go to Brooklyn Law School.